What is going on, everyone? This is the Air It Out podcast presented by Inside the Hashes. My name is Juan Pablo Gordon Camargo, of course, and I am in a video call filled with experts on this call. I got Avery Collins, I got Darren Braxton, I got Darius Riddick, and Jerome Jones behind the glass. What is up, boys?
What's up, Big Trust? Woo woo. It's always to the death. You know what it is.
Oh, here we go.
Until we get a win, Matt Ryan for vice president.
Oh man, guys. I watching last week's games where, there were some ups and downs to it. Avery, remember last week I had the hot take that the Falcons would pull up the upset. It was this close.
Remember last week when I said we would start this season up?
Yeah, but then you had two things working against you. Number one, the fact that the Falcons have developed the notoriety of blowing up big leads now, apparently. And second, you didn't anticipate Eagles superhero Nick Foles coming into the game.
It don't matter. I knew that we were going to start that season 0-3. I just had a feeling. There was a gut feeling in me that was like, yeah, we're not going to beat the Bears. Some way, somehow, we're going to lose that game, a game that we should have won. We really should be 3-0, 2-1 at the worst, but it is what it is.
Darius, with not Darius, Darren, your Ravens just could not handle it on prime time, man. I'm sorry to say, we saw this as the battle of the MVPs, and it showed that maybe Lamar Jackson didn't deserve his MVP last year. So,
we're gonna make this very clear.
Okay,
we're gonna make this very, very clear, Juan. Lamar Jackson deserved every bit of that MVP he got last year. Every bit of it. The only person that I would have gave it to other than him was Russ. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can look at the stats. You can look at the way they played and they led their teams. Those were the only two for me that would have won MVP. I'm sorry.
That's fair. But Darius, your man, the man you're touting for MVP this year, Cam Newton, was just ultimately relegated to a checkdown specialist against a subpar Raiders defense, man, who will have a checkdown specialist of their own. 103 yards, most of it 183 yards. Couldn't get anything going on the ground outside of Rex Burkhead. But, could come back against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is also a tall drink of water. But, tell me, is Cam still your MVP this year?
Man, listen, it's Cam for MVP every episode. But he had one of his games where he obviously struggled early on in the game. But as you saw, we really went to the running game. And I think that's something we're going to do next week against Kansas City, who is a team that's struggling against the run. So I think Cam is going to have another, not a game that he had in Seattle through the air, but I definitely think he's going to get it going through the running game. And I think the game plan next week is just to run the ball effectively, control the time possession, and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field as much as possible if we want to go on Arrowhead and get that victory to move to 3-1.
Guys, I'm only throwing out this hate and this spice only because we have a toilet bowl for a game on Thursday night. But we're going to touch on that later because it features my New York Jets and the Denver Broncos. And you can make fun of me all you want until then. But right now, we're going to jump right into the rundown. And the first thing we're going to be talking about today is the biggest news of, I'd say, the week, probably the month in the NFL. The league has ruled to postpone the Steelers-Titans game this week after several members of the Tennessee Titans, both players and coaching staff, were reported to have tested positive for the coronavirus. As of right now, the count is at 5 players and 6 personnel members for Titans. Head coach Mike Vrabel says that because we're in a pandemic, it's not necessarily anyone's fault for testing positive. While the team has the right to fine players if they violate COVID-19 protocols, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport said no fines are coming at this point, an indication that the Titans believe none of their members violated protocol. The game is postponed to either Week 7 or Week 8. No decision has been made as of yet. In contract news, the Ravens and cornerback Marlon Humphreys have inked a new deal. 5 years, $97.5 million, $66 million of it guaranteed. Probably one of the biggest cornerback contracts in the market, second in compared to the one signed by Rams corner Jalen Ramsey. Humphreys had 2 years left on his rookie deal. Now he's signed on until 2027. He earned an All-Pro and a Pro Bowl in 2019. And since he's been drafted by the Ravens, he's accumulated 8 interceptions, 44 pass deflections, 2 defensive touchdowns, and 124 solo tackles. Moving over on the East Coast, Jets fans across the nation are hoping that tonight's game against the Denver Broncos will be head coach Adam Gase's last. Well, Jets fans will have to wait a bit longer for that day, as sources close to the organization say that the thinking is that firing Adam Gase would only be counterproductive in general, but also potentially damaging to quarterback Sam Darnold. Jets brass believe that Gase can turn things around like he did last year when he went 6 out of 8 games to go 7-9. Right. And finally, as we enter the month of October, the NFL has announced its Player of the Month winners for the AFC and the NFC. And the AFC, it's Bills quarterback Josh Allen for Offensive Player of the Week, as he has accumulated over 1,000 passing yards on the season in just 3 games. And the NFC, it's Big Trust. It's Mr. Unlimited himself coming in with it. Russell Wilson for NFC Offensive Player of the Month with 10 touchdowns to 1 interception 14 touchdowns to 1 interception. No, in just the span of 3 games. In regards to Defensive Player of the Month for the AFC, it is Steelers pass rusher TJ Watt, who has 3.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, and an interception. And over in the NFC, it is middle linebacker Levante David, who has put up 24 total pit tackles, an interception, a fumble, and a fumble recovery. And on the rookie side, the rookie awards are much more different than the veteran awards because rookies for the whole league. For Rookie of the Month, Offensive Rookie of the Month in the NFL, it is Jaguars running back James Robinson, who has accumulated 339 total scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns, while Buccaneer rookie safety Antoine Winfield Jr. takes Defensive Player of the Month with 23 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a 2-1 record with the Bucs so far. And that concludes today's rundown, gentlemen. Now I'm going to go over to Avery first. I want to ask quickly his opinion about how the NFL is handling the COVID case with the Titans. They postponed the game against the Steelers set for week 4. This is essentially a bye for both teams. They could have 2 bye weeks potentially just to try to even things out in terms of scheduling. So, Avery, what do you think? Has this been a good move with regards to the NFL of handling COVID?
Before I go there, shout out to Antoine Winfield. Me and Jerome are really high on that dude. We've been talking about that dude for a long time. And people kind of was giving us slander because of it. So shout out to him proving us right.
Great safety.
But yeah, so I don't like it. I don't like how the NFL is handling this. I do not. I feel like you expanded the practice squad roster for a reason, right? You literally, that was the reason that you expanded the practice squad roster, was to bring up players in the event that other players got COVID. That was the reason that they told us that they did it. So now the Steelers, who are rolling right now, have to miss out on a game that they could potentially win, and the Titans, who are rolling right now, who could miss out on potentially a game. I mean, we're talking on 2 3-0 teams right now, facing off on each other on Monday night in prime time, and we're not going to be able to see that now because the NFL is not following the protocols that they set in place. And then, for me, it's just like, it's also, in a sense, I get where they're coming from. They want to make sure that the playing field is even because with these 2 undefeated teams, you want to make sure that they're at full strength when they do play each other and yada, yada. But one of the things that we saw on Hard Knock from the Chargers coach, he said, the team that wins it all is the team that does this the best, who handles this type of situation the best. And unfortunately, the Titans at this current time are not handling it the best. They have got 11 plus players who have tested positive for COVID. That's not the Steelers' fault, and they should not be punished because of it. And I just feel like the Steelers, in a sense, are getting the short hand of the stick on this because it's like, well, we did what we were supposed to do. They didn't. It's not our fault. We should still be able to play the game because of the fact that you, NFL, said we're expanding the practice squad roster in the event that these guys get COVID. So what's that going? What's going on with that? So to me, I just don't like it. I don't like it.
It's an unprecedented year, to say the least. Injuries piling up like it's bags of money for the NFL, as well as COVID just popping up when it shouldn't happen. It was only a matter of time before it happened. We'll have to monitor the situation more going forward, but it is a shame that both teams, both undefeated teams, hint, will have to miss out on trying to extend their advantage going forward. Darren, I wanted to ask you, man, because you last week had the hot take that Adam Gase, the New York Jets head coach, was going to be fired this week. Didn't happen, obviously. But every Jets fan was hoping that. I'm sorry, no. Every Jets fan was hoping that it would happen, but it just didn't. So I want to ask you, man, like how long are Jets fans gonna wait until Adam Gase is finally gone?
I'll be honest, that's a great question that I don't even think I have an answer to, and I don't even think Jets owners think they have an answer to. They don't want to damage the development of Sam Darnold by leaving Adam. That doesn't even make sense. He is hurting him by being there. He is not helping that guy whatsoever, in my opinion. Since he's been there, at this point, has Sam Darnold regressed or progressed in his evolution as a passer?
I would say he's potentially progressed. Here's my thing. I think Gay should be there, just not as a head coach. He should be a quarterback's coach. He can train quarterbacks.
Darius, quickly, I want to hear your rebuttal on that. Do you agree with Darren?
I think I disagree with Darren. I think I agree with Avery. I think Sam Darnold is making slow progressions. If we look at, I haven't really watched the Jets game, but I've watched highlights. Sam Darnold obviously is not a bad quarterback. I think the situation is Adam Gates as the head coach. And I saw on Twitter last week, it was a hashtag saying fire Adam Gates. And, to Avery's point, I think Adam Gates should be at least an offensive coordinator or quarterback's coach. I don't think he has the leadership to really lead a team, especially in a division where obviously there is no clear-cut winner. Tom Brady's gone. The division is up for grabs. This is the perfect time for the Jets to really, take that leap with no clear-cut winner. Obviously, Buffalo is doing, New England's doing, but I definitely think Sam Darnold is progressing. It's not as fast as maybe Jets fans want it to be, but I definitely think that Sam Darnold isn't the problem. It's different. It's other different things that's going on, but I think what the Jets are going to have to do is, if it's not after this game, it's definitely after the end of the season. You have to cut ways with Adam Gates because he's not really helping the team. Yeah, last year
it has to be the same.
Congratulations, you do 7-9, but it's like you're starting off very slow, especially when you look at how the Jets are. The Jets obviously don't have that much talent offensively and defensively. It's a lot of holes, but some of these games you watch, besides the San Francisco game, these are games that they probably could have won. I don't think the Jets should have been 0-3 this season. I definitely think the Jets should at least have one possible win. But I definitely think that Adam Gates is going to be gone. If not after tonight, then definitely once the season is over, they're going to get rid of him.
Could you imagine him in San Fran?
Prior to his
really quickly, I want to say something. I actually do agree with what the Facebook user said because that's the main point I'm trying to get at. It's not whether or not Sam Darnold himself is good, but what is Adam Gase doing to help Sam Darnold get better? And
that's my point.
That's what I really don't see, because I see, and it's same flashes that we seen in college from Sam Darnold, the ability to push the ball, make smart decisions, but then still have the mistakes. But he's still not growing. He's still that almost same guy as in college. He's progressed a little bit, yes, but it's not what you're expecting from an offensive guy like Adam Gase when he came into that.
He's not a good head coach. He's a terrible head coach.
Everyone can agree, and that's why I felt like it.
Could you imagine Sam Darnold in San Francisco?
Oh, cool. With that?
Woo!
With that?
Woo! They probably would have won a
Kyle Shanahan, listen. I gotta give him this. Kyle Shanahan is a mastermind at offense. He might not be the greatest time management guy coming down the wire, but he knows how to get a team into space. He is creative. He's one of the best minds at it.
As much as I love to enjoy more of this Jets talk, gentlemen, especially from my end, like you have said everything that's been on my mind and then some. I just have only one thing to say. No tank for Trevor. All right? You don't waste a good quarterback talent because you have the wrong coach. You bring in another coach. Yes, Jets fans, the New York media especially, is impatient, but that's because it's a fast-paced culture up here in the big city, unfortunately. But with that being said, we're gonna move on into our first segment of the day, which I like to call Panic Button. Now, it's a two-part segment. The way it works is simple. We have a bunch of 3-0 teams and a bunch of 0-3 teams, and also 0-2-1 teams. Sorry, Jerome. So the point of the game is simple. I'm gonna ask you guys each to tell me. Well, I'm sorry, guys. I'm starting a little bit because my notes were a little jumbled. What I wanted to say was the first game we're gonna play is called Imposters. And similar to that game Among Us that's been kind of going around recently, there are a bunch of 3-0 teams currently in the NFL. There's the Steelers, there's the Packers, there's the Titans, there's the Bears, there's the Seahawks, there's the Chiefs, and then there's the Bills. All right, but not every 3-0 team is equal. Not all of them are on par to be at the top of where they're supposed to be. So I want to ask you guys, who do you think is the true 3-0 team at the top of the top, and which of these 3-0 teams are an imposter? So I want to start off first with Darius, because he was helping me come up with the concept in the first place. Go ahead, Darius.
So, imposter team that I think that definitely shouldn't be 3-0 is Chicago, the Bears. I don't think the Bears should be 3-0. Like, we look at it, Atlanta should have won that game, right? That's a game that the Bears should have lost. So I think Chicago is a team that I'm really not sold on, just because of, like I said, they had to switch quarterbacks. Mitchell Trubisky struggled in that game. Nick Foles came in, and honestly, if Atlanta was better at time management, they lose that game, and you're looking at a team that's potentially 1-2. Another team that I definitely think that is an imposter, and it's just because of their defense, and I think it's Seattle. And we have to look at Seattle. If Russ is not there, right? Like if Russell Wilson is not doing what he does every game, Seattle is potentially an 0-3 team. Russell Wilson is carrying that team. Their defense is getting shredded. Cam Newton threw for almost 400 yards. Dak Prescott threw for over 400 yards. And Matt Ryan threw for over 400 yards. Like Russell Wilson is literally that whole entire team. And Avery, you said it in the chat. He deserves what Patrick Mahomes is making because of what he's doing for that team. He's literally carrying that team on his back. And if he's not there, Seattle is 0-3. So I think those are the two teams that shouldn't be 3-0, but got a couple of lucky breaks, obviously, and they're 3-0. But I definitely think Chicago is going to be, the first team to really, not going into after week 4, they're not going to be undefeated.
Avery, your Falcons were victimized by the Bears as by that imposter Bears ranked by Darius. But do you also see the Bears as an imposter, or is there another team in the mix that you don't think belongs there?
No, I completely agree with Darius on all points. Both teams, I believe that Chicago is the imposter in this. Not to say that they're not a good team, right? I just think that they shouldn't be 3-0. Obviously, to his point, I think Atlanta should have won that game. But the one thing that we can say is they found a way to win. That's what it boils down to. I think the switch to Nick Foles will probably potentially get them to. I don't know who they play next. I don't know the schedule, but they could potentially get to 4-5-0 before they lose a game because of the fact that Nick Foles can put up points in the defense.
They play the Colts.
Oh, right. And so like I said, they can get to 4, maybe even 5-0. And so it's a situation where once they get a lead, you're allowing Khalil Mack to tee off on people. And so it's a potential that it could happen. I still think that they're fraudulent. Then with Seattle, I think that it's a situation where, again, you look at, again, like Darius said, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they've never missed the playoffs or missed the playoffs once since Russell Wilson has been the quarterback of that team. I mean, so you mean to tell me after the Legion of Boom, after Marshawn Lynch retires, they're still making it to the playoffs? And who is that because of? Russell Wilson. That's it. I mean, he played the one season he played I think the final 6 or 7 games on a sprained MCL. I mean, the dude is just ridiculously good. I mean, every year he carries that team. He does things where you're like, okay, you're out the game. And then you're like, wait, it's prime time. It's Russ in prime time. And he always finds a way to at least get his team in position to win. And so for me, like I just feel like they're a little bit of an imposter type team because of their defense. They're allowing over 24 points a game. That's just not good for
they're allowing over
team.
And speaking of Khalil Mack, Darren, I wanted to ask you, man, like, outside of the Bears and the Seahawks, who do you think is the imposter out of these 3-0 teams? I'll give you the list again. It's Steelers, Packers, Titans, Bears, Seahawks, Chiefs, and Bills.
So for me, if you're excluding the Bears and you're excluding the Seahawks, who obviously are, it might be the Bills. It may be the Bills.
Don't you dare disrespect Josh Allen like that.
Hold on.
And it's not because of Josh Allen. It's not because of Josh Allen. The Rams showed you can put points up on the Bills.
That's true.
They almost lost that game.
The Rams offense, though. McVay is nice. He's like another Shanahan.
You're right, but you got to think. There is a lot of good offensive minds in this league, and a lot of them teams are going to have to play the Bills. So when you think about it, they have to understand as a team, once they go up, they cannot cruise. They have to keep their foot on the gas. I believe in Josh Allen right now. I believe in the way he's playing and the way his accuracy is when he's playing. He's not turning the ball over as much, and he's getting the ball downfield to his weapons in space where they can actually make plays. So it's not him. It is the defense, which has always actually been the strength of that team with Sean McDermott at the helm. So I believe it may be the Bills. I don't believe they would be less than 2-1, but they may not be a 3-0 team. They have to
the Titans before the Bills.
But then who do you think is the true 3-0 team then?
Oh, the truth is very simple. The Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. It's the Chiefs.
Green Bay in there. I would throw Green Bay in there.
Yeah, you can throw Green Bay.
I think for me,
I gotta go with the Chiefs.
For me, number one has to be Green Bay.
Yep.
For me, number two would be the Chiefs. The reason is because what team was it? They took
Chargers.
Kansas City. The Chargers took Kansas City. Now,
of course, you have to understand.
Of course, I understand. Chargers defense, all of those different things. They're familiar with them. Obviously,
they know that team, and it's always been a battle for them the last few years. So
yeah, for sure. But again, the Chargers with Justin Herbert at the helm pushed this team to the brink. You get what I'm saying? Like the Packers, they have literally been stomping on people's necks in every facet of the game. They run the ball well. Aaron Jones leads the league in rushing. They throw the ball well. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think has thrown a pick yet. Like they're doing. Say it again.
Or taking a sack.
Taking a sack. Which means the offensive line is playing well. Listen, for me, right now, it's the Packers and then the Chiefs. The Packers are just good. Without Devontae Adams.
Chiefs and Packers are legit. Titans are imposters. All right, I'm gonna say that was Chris Thomas, our former contributor to the show. Love you, Chris. But I will say this one thing against the Packers, Avery. The fact that they let Alvin Kamara blow them up on defense.
That defense,
and it's not even just one game.
And you let Drew Brees, who has essentially become a check down specialist over the past 4 or 5 years, to essentially still keep them in the game. Granted, that interception set them back, but without that pick, it's going to have been a much closer game down in New Orleans. With that being said,
did they not give up over 30? Did they not give up over 30 to Kirk Cousins?
It's Alvin Kamara.
No, the Vikings put up 30 plus on that defense.
Okay, in a division game where Kirk Cousins like to throw the ball, he slings the ball. I'm not saying that their defense is top 5 or anything like that. What I'm saying is they have literally been getting up on people and doing the daggone thing.
But the standard set to be a true 3-0 team, you have to be at least up above average or supreme on both sides of the ball. Packers obviously are great on defense. I mean on offense, not on defense. Chiefs, their defense stepped up against the Ravens, but they haven't been able to keep opponents out of the end zone as much. But the offense is still beyond its lights. Honestly, guys, if you really want to, in my opinion, I'll just keep it quick before we move on to the next topic. For me, I would have to say that the Steelers are the true 3-0 team in this league. Number one, Big Ben is back. All right, Big Ben is back, and he is using those weapons effectively. And he has come and he's been doing a pretty good job of doing so. Everyone thought he was washed up. Everyone thought that elbow wasn't going to be the same as it was, but he's still slinging the rock. He's using Juju to his best extent. He's making no-name receivers become highly coveted fantasy options. And the running back rotation that he has with James Conner is still effective in running the ball in. On defense, it's even better. I mean, you have a stalwart front seven and Cameron Hayward, who I thought was going to take a step back into 2020, but I was wrong about that. TJ Watt, still the sack specialist that he is. Bud Dupree offering a good support system on the other side. The secondary still left something left to be decided, but when it comes to true equalness on both sides of the ball, the Steelers have achieved that.
I can understand that, but for me, if they get into a shootout, I don't see them winning a shootout with the Chiefs or the Packers or anything like that. They're not putting up astronomical points. Their offense is clicking, don't get me wrong, but they're not putting up astronomical points. For me, I look at it when I look at the 3-0 teams that are at the top, I'm like, who's the team that no matter what, their offense is going to put up points and they're going to be dangerous. And for me, the number one team in the NFL right now doing that is the Packers. Like they're clicking in every facet on offense, right? To me, that is just ridiculous. And the defense has a bend but don't break mentality. So for me, right now, it's the Packers, then the Chiefs, then I would go Steelers/Bills, maybe Titans in there.
I'll leave it on this adage before we move on. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. That's all. And now we move on. And now, we go from the top of the top to the bottom of the bottom. And in this case, we're going into panic button, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 winless teams going into week 4. Guys, that's got to be some sort of record. I'm not really sure. I'd like someone, if we can get someone to fact check that for us. Rome, if you can get on that, maybe. But 8 winless teams. We have the Jets 0-3, the Bengals 0-2-1. The Eagles also 0-2-1. The Vikings 0-3. The Texans 0-3. The Giants 0-3, and the Falcons 0-3. The Packers don't turn the ball over and they don't allow sacks, and they're still scoring without Adams. Yeah, that's a hallmark of a good offense, Chris, but a defense that's giving up almost 400 points a game. That's not really the hallmark that you're looking for, is it? Now, guys, with regards to winless teams, which one of these do you press the panic button, stick the fork in them, basically say they're done, and which one do you still have hope for? And Avery, I'm going to throw it to you real quick.
So I would say I still have hope for the Eagles, the Falcons, and who are the other teams?
Jets, Broncos, Bengals, Vikings, Giants, Falcons, Texans.
Okay, and then I would say the Texans. The reason I'm saying that I still have hope for them is for a couple of reasons. One, the Eagles division that they play in, the Giants still are not good. The Redskins are very shaky, and the Cowboys are still figuring it out, right? So if the Eagles can kind of figure themselves out as well before the Cowboys get rolling, if they get rolling, the Eagles have a chance to continue to – they still have a chance to get to win that division. I mean, last year they had – they won the division at 9-7. And to that comment, they have, a very, very depleted receiver core, but there's still receivers out there on the market that you can pick up. And obviously Carson Wentz loves to throw the tight ends anyway. Obviously, with losing Dallas Goedert is going to hurt. But again, I think that, for me, I think because of the division that they play in, like I said, they have a chance. The same thing with the Falcons. It's because of the division that they play in. Obviously, the Bucs are the head honchos right now, but the Saints do not look like they're clicking right now. They look like something's going on. I wonder if Drew Brees' comments preseason has had an effect on the locker room. I don't know, because it doesn't look like they're clicking right now. The Panthers, again, are very shaky. So I feel like the Falcons have a chance if they can just get it together. I mean, they're an extremely talented team. They've put up almost 100 points in the first 3 games. So, they have a chance. And then the Texans, again, for the division that they play in, potentially they could turn things around. If Deshaun Watson can progress, if the receivers can stay healthy, if they can put some points up, and then I think that they have a chance to turn it around. I want Bill to lose his job as well, but we'll see what happens. The other teams, I'm panicking. I'm panicking.
What's the one team you would choose to panic? Just one.
Easily for me, the team that needs to panic right now, is I just had it in my head. Give me the teams again.
Jets, Broncos, Vikings.
There you go. Thank you. Vikings.
Vikings.
The Vikings have to panic. They have to panic. I mean, that division is tough. I mean, look at what the Packers are doing. Look at what the Bears are doing. Like, look at what Detroit is doing. Detroit is not bad. Like, everybody kind of had Arizona winning against Detroit. I was one of the people who was like, yo, do not sleep on Detroit. They just have to get some things clicking, and they'll be a good team. The Vikings need to panic right now. I mean, offensively, they look like they're getting better, but they can't stop anybody right now. And last year, the hallmark of that team was the defense. And it looks like Stephon Diggs is like, hey, listen, y'all needed me. I don't know why y'all let me get up out of here. But at the same time, he wanted to leave. So for me, the Vikings need to panic.
Justin Jefferson, his replacement, went off against the Titans, though, 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. So maybe
and they still lost.
They still lost, but that might not be because of a missing Stephon Diggs, but maybe a depleted a big offensive line and a defense that can't keep opponents out of the end zone. Darius, real quick, man, your picks for who do you hit the panic button on, and who do you hold off, just having hope for just a little bit?
Avery took my answer with Minnesota, and he had all the nails on the coffin. It's just you look at that division: Green Bay 3-0, Chicago 3-0, Detroit 1-2. Minnesota fell behind really badly, and Green Bay I think is just going to keep the ball rolling. Like, I don't really see Green Bay and that offense really slowing down, especially because they're getting Devontae Adams back, obviously, right? And they can run the ball with their running back committee. But to me, a team like Houston, I think it's the panic button just because
the one team I can
all of that division. Like, we have to look at it. Houston is 0-3, right? Indianapolis is 2-1. You have Tennessee that's 3-0. You still have. I still believe in Jacksonville. I know defense is still a little shaky, but I still believe in Jacksonville. That Houston just has so many question marks on the offense. Like, they really just don't have a true number one receiver that can help Deshaun. Like, Deshaun Watson really just doesn't have enough help, in my opinion. And the defense is still shaky. Yeah, you got J.J. Watt, but outside of that defense, who do they really have? So I personally want either Deshaun Watson out of Houston, which is probably not going to happen because he signed out a contract extension, or Bill O'Brien fired. But I definitely think that Houston is a team, Houston and Minnesota, a team that I still have a little bit hope for is the Bengals, just because I'm a believer in Joe Burrow. I think we watched the first 3 games of Cincinnati. Their defense isn't bad. Their defense is not bad. Like, it really slightly improved from last year. The biggest problem is the biggest problem is the offensive line. Like, look what they did against Philly. Like, they basically almost beat Philly, right? Week 1, they played against LA and they almost beat LA, right? So I think I still have hope for the Bengals. I understand the division that they're in. Obviously, you got Pittsburgh at 3-0. You still got Baltimore. You have Cleveland. But do not sleep on the Bengals. I mean, Juan said it. The Bengals are going to sweep the Ravens twice this year.
We're not sleep on the Bengals, but there's a panic button, but there's no real panic because they have a rookie at quarterback, and we all knew that it was going to take some time for them to win games. So
I said a little bit.
I can make it clear that Christopher Thomas, Facebook user that's commenting, and Jerome, who's our producer, are both Eagles fans. So that could be just salty at this point, but I'm just letting it slide. Darren, real quick, your picks for who do you have hope for and who you're pressing the panic button for?
All right, real quick. Joe Burrow is going to be the future of that team. It is what it is. And I like what I see from him so far. So it's not a more panic button like Avery said, but we know this is going to be the process. We know we're not going to be that great this year. But it's going to be a great foundation for the future.
A little bit of hope for them. It's a little bit.
Now, my picks for who needs to panic, the Eagles are 1. The Vikings are 1. The Eagles have to be 1 only because you got to think about everything that is going on with the team. The defense is not playing correctly. It's not playing up to par. The offense is not playing up to par whatsoever. And Carson Wentz looks like he's regressing, which is a major, major issue right now. He's thrown 6 picks in the first 3 games.
He ain't got nobody to throw it to, man.
He didn't
got
last
some
year.
line.
You
He
can
didn't have
say
any
that
last
all
year.
you like. I will
He was
understand the
balling.
first game.
He had an O-line last year.
But this is my point. With everything going on, and Doug Peterson does not seem to have a hold on it, you have to panic as the Eagles. You have to. You have to figure out what are you guys going to do. And with the division that you have, if you figure it out now, you can still possibly win that division and go to the playoffs. We know what the division is. So the Eagles have to panic to get themselves together and actually be able to compete, because we already know the Cowboys are struggling somewhat, but they can start to get on a roll soon. The Eagles need to figure out what's wrong and what to fix. This way they can move forward. But the one team that does not need to panic at all gotta be, for me, the Texans. Sorry. And it's only because I trust Deshaun Watson, man. I do. I trust Deshaun Watson and that he can deliver them wins. And if he can gel with those receivers, which he has a plethora of actually very good receivers. They're injury prone, but they're very good receivers. And if he can gel with them and they can stay healthy,
they all right.
Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills,
they all right.
That's some of the fastest receivers in the league right now. And if they can stay healthy, they can do some damage, especially with Darren Fells in the middle being that short, the intermediate guy for them. He does not need to catch many passes, but he is a red zone threat. For the last 2
years, kid.
Hey, if they play more 2 tight end sets, they can work. That team can work with the offense they have, but they have to play the pieces in place.
Well, Darius, they have the pieces in place to go forward. What they don't have is the right offensive mind calling the plays here. Because how many times have they actually run a 2 tight end set every time? How many times has Bill O'Brien been trying to scheme, trying to get guys like Kenny Stills, who's a speed receiver?
He did.
It's still not working. Like nothing that Bill O'Brien does works because he doesn't know how to game plan with the pieces that he has. He just thinks, oh, speed will mask the problem. Speed is not masking the problem.
That was a great comment.
And with that being said, each one of these teams, whether it's the 3-0 teams we talked about or the 0-3 teams that we're talking now, will have a chance to prove it in week 4, which brings us to our next topic of the day, which is week 4 game picks and hot takes. That's right. We combine both these topics because it's just so fun to do, you guys. And you know what? I'm going to throw it to a guy who I think has a spicy take in him right now. I'm going to throw it to Darren first because he's keeping the low demeanor and his takes have been a little mild, but they've been getting spicier and spicier over the course of the season. So I'll give it over to Darren first.
All right, so I gotta go with someone I just talked up and someone I feel like I can believe in. I don't think he's going to do well against us, but I know he's going to do well against this team, the Jaguars. Bengals get their first win this week. And Joe Burrow officially says he is the man. 450 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Joe Burrow has weapons, and he knows how to use them. If that offensive line can block for that man and not allow him to get hit more than 4 or 5 times, he can demolish that team. The Jaguars are still young, and they are trying. But Joe Burrow has the weapons to stop that. And not only that, but gotta go again. The Vikings get their first win of the season against the Houston Texans.
Against the very team that you just said you had hope for.
I do. But I don't see it against the Vikings. I'm sorry. I don't see it against the Vikings. Justin Jefferson is the reason why. Justin Jefferson is the reason why, man. You gotta
that's not spicy. That's
understand, man. Justin Jefferson is going to have back-to-back 150 plus yard games with a touchdown.
I have Justin Jefferson too. You have Justin,
but it's going to be in a shootout.
I have Justin Jefferson on 2 fantasy teams, so I'll take you up on your word on that as well. But moving on to Avery, your hot takes and your game of the week. Give it to me.
Oh boy. All right, game of the week. I think I'm going to have to go game of the week here. I'm just looking at it. It's tough because I wanted to go Bills Raiders because I really think that's going to be a really good game. I think that's going to be an underrated game. I think a lot of people are kind of picking the Bills to win that game. I'm not sure, man. The Raiders look like a solid team. Do they look like Super Bowl contenders? No, they just look really solid. So I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to have to go with the Patriots and Chiefs, man. I think that is going to be a game. Man, I think they're really going to get down and dirty. I think that's going to be something that people are going to be talking about for this season. Kind of how we expected to talk about the Ravens-Chiefs game. I think that's what this game is going to be like. I think it's going to be an affair where, you're not sure who's going to, win the game until whoever has the ball last. I think that's going to be a really good game to watch. Another one, and Darren, just bear with me here. I don't think that the Ravens are going to – I think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to blow out the Washington football team. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that Washington's going to compete in this game. I think their front seven is good enough to potentially keep Lamar contained in the pocket and make him throw the football, potentially, obviously. And if they can do that, then I think that they can keep themselves in the game. But I just think that the game of the week for sure, without question for me, is Chiefs-Patriots. But my hot take, I was going to say, the Bengals get their first win against the Jaguars, but that's not really that hot. I was going to say that the Texans get their first win over the Vikings, but again, that's not hot, though I do believe that's going to happen. I think the Texans are going to win that game. But I'm going to go with this. I think the Dolphins are going to beat the Seahawks this week. I think the Dolphins – with Ryan Fitzmagic he's going to throw that football all around. And with the way that defense of the Seahawks is playing, listen, man, I'm scared. I'm afraid because of the way that defense is playing. And I'm not sure. I believe in Russ, but I think that it's going to be a situation where Ryan Fitzmagic is going to have the ball last. He's going to take that team down the field, and I think he's going to win. And by the way, Jets over Broncos tonight.
I appreciate the vote of confidence, Avery. I appreciate the vote of confidence. I'll get my pick for that in just a second. But Darius, finish off.
There has to be some type of drug test before each episode. I genuinely think we need that. I do understand why you said that Miami Dolphins. Obviously, Seattle's defense is sus. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
And Jamal's hurt, right?
Yeah, and Jamal Adams is hurt. Miami's able to push the ball. They have a very underrated tight end in Mike Gesicki, who I think is obviously coming up. Solid receiving core, and their defense is starting to get it together. But my hot take is Sam Darnold has a breakout game against the Broncos, and then obviously the Jets get their first win of the day tonight. Sam Darnold finally shows everyone that he is the guy going forward in New York, and that he is not the problem. The game of the week, obviously, Avery, I think it's the Chiefs and the Patriots. Just because every time these two teams play together, it's always a good game. It's always a good game. We know what happens in the first half. Patrick Mahomes looks very slow. That Chiefs offense looks very slow. But like I said last week, Andy Reid is giving that secret juke, that secret stuff to his players, and they just start humming. After they come out of halftime, that offense gets going. And I think it's going to be another game like Seattle, New England, where who has the ball last? What defense can really step up when it really matters? And like I said, when Andy Reid and Belichick plays, it's always a great game. So that's my game of the week.
I'll keep mine pretty short, pretty brief. For my game of the week, I have the Bills playing against the Raiders, mainly because these are two scrappy teams that know how to win when times get tough. With both teams, it's the ground game. It's Josh Jacobs for the Raiders. It's Josh Allen and Devin Singletary for the Bills. The ground and pound is their bread and butter, and they will stick to it. But the difference between the two is that the Bills have a cannon-armed, much more accurate and improved quarterback in Josh Allen toting it, while the Raiders have Derek Carr, albeit he still has a great weapon in Darren Waller, who can pretty much beat any matchup on the Bills' defense. Unfortunately, Derek is missing his two main speed weapons, and both rookie receivers Brian Edwards and Henry Ruggs both out with injury. And my hot take for that game is that Josh Allen, he's thrown for 300 yards in the first game and the third game, and 400 in the second game. So I'm predicting this one, he goes for 500. I say Josh Allen throws 500 yards against the Oakland Raiders, and 150 of those yards to Stephon Diggs. And it's going to be nothing but post routes down the middle, vertical routes, go routes, anything to get that speedy receiver down the field against a very lackluster Raiders secondary. And for my hot take of the week, it's another upset alert, and I hate doing it, but I need to because there has to be a semblance of hope here today. And I'm actually gonna, actually, you know what? I'm changing it because originally I was gonna give it to the Falcons upsetting the Packers because I wanted to believe that the Packers defense can't compete against a high-powered Falcons offense. But I'm just gonna give my hot take here. I don't think the Jets are gonna win tonight. I think the Broncos are, and reason why is because I do not trust Adam Gase at all. All right, I don't trust him against an injured 49ers team. I don't trust him against a Colts team that was supposed to be lackluster with a 41-year-old quarterback that throws more picks than touchdowns. And I don't trust him to game plan at all against a Broncos team that still has a pretty good secondary and has been competitive in the first 3 weeks despite all of them being losses. All right, I think that this Jets team, this Jets defense especially, manned by a Greg Williams who has lost the locker room, and you can see that not a single Jets player in that locker room has any faith in the coaching staff whatsoever. I believe they gave up on this team. I believe that Greg Williams no longer has a competitive defense, that Adam Gase can't man an offense, and that the Broncos are just going to slap the Jets in the face on Thursday night.
I cannot believe you put on another team's jersey on the same day that your team plays. That is bananas. You should have stuck with your Falcons pick because the Falcons are going to upset the Packers. Kendall Sheffield's back on defense. We're going to get our first win of the game of the season this week. Let's go.
See, that's what makes me such a great journalist, guys. My object.
Yeah, there we go. That's more like it. Unfortunately, that's more like it.
Being a Jets fan has made me a cynical man. Being a New York team fan in general, a New York City team fan in general, can make you into a cynical man or a cynical person in general. Shout out to Rachel Dorada and Sam Kirk, both of our interns here at Inside the Hashes, who are Giant fans. But I just can't see the Jets pulling the win tonight. All right, I can't. And years of heartbreak and watching and. I have never seen a much more deflated Jets team in my 10 years in fanhood. And I have never seen a team give up so easily in my 10 years of fanhood as I've seen the last 3 weeks. I can't put my face on a product that doesn't exist. Sam Darnold, I hope, has a breakout game and can make it at least somewhat competitive, but he'll be the only one trying. And with that being said, guys, we're ending the show here on my cynicism and my pessimism. But guys, listen, this podcast and many others are available everywhere that you listen to podcasts, whether it is on Apple Podcasts, whether it's on Anchor, whether it's on Spotify, anywhere that podcasts are heard, Inside the Hashes is there. And if you want to join us in our hot takes and our discussions or read some of our stupid words that we say, you can check us out on our Discord, which is Inside the Hashes. Just type it in the search bar. You'll find us. We want to hear you. We want to talk to you. We want to talk trash with you. Bring it on. You can also reach us out to us on our social media. On Instagram, we are at Inside the Hashes. On Facebook, we are Inside the Hashes, the football group. And on Twitter, we are at Inside the Hashes. You can also check out our video products, our video interviews, our articles, all our media on InsideTheHashes.com, as well as on our YouTube channel, Inside the Hashes LC. For Jerome Jones, for Darren Braxton, for Darius Riddick, for Avery Collins, for the New York Jets losing tonight against the Denver Broncos. My name is Juan Pablo, the miserable Jets fan, Gordon Camargo. We'll see you next time.